Hello, IB History seniors. This is a quick message about how to complete your internal assessment, your history research paper, as soon as possible. Mostly, I just want to review all the resources that are up and running and have been up and running on OneNote. A lot of you have questions, or I'm seeing that some of your papers are lacking in some areas. So I just wanted to review all the stuff that we have ready to go that I need you to use this week. We need to have our papers finished, final draft submitted next Friday. So you have 7 days to polish a paper. So I know we can do this. I want you to constantly send me drafts. Email would be the fastest way for you to get that done. So whatever the latest draft you have is, send it, and I will grade it as fast as I can and get it back to you until we polish, until we can get the best paper that you can write. Yeah, it might feel short notice as far as having a week, but we've also been working on this for several months, so my pity is not there for you. Plus, a lot of you are just locked up inside with the computer and the internet, so get to it. You can easily write a 2,000 word paper in a week. This is what we've been building you up for, and you got this. If you have questions, please email me. I'm so bored. Okay, so let's kind of start and get going through this. As far as all the resources. So the first thing you need to do is get into OneNote for the IB World History Seniors. You know how to get there. And go to Content Library and then Research. In the Research tab, that's where we have all the stuff you need to be successful. IB topics, you've already picked topics at this point. And so these were the kind of civil rights topics that we started out on. You've already got that. Research resources, a lot of you still are missing a lot of primary sources, and so you need to research more because I've read a good chunk of your papers so far and I'm not seeing as many primary sources as you need. And so please use these resources in the research resources section here. There's tons and you need to use them to be successful. Some of them require passwords. Here are the database passwords, and there's a little PDF that goes through it all and how to access these resources. The best one's going to be ABC Clio. If you haven't used ABC Clio, you're not doing it right, and you need to get in there and find some good sources. Research instructions is probably the best place to look at because I'm going to kind of walk through with this nice handy little PDF what you need to do to be successful. And so what that includes is just this kind of 3-part paper. Part 1, well, I started with Part B for you because Part B is worth the most points and it's the main gist of the essay. And so Section 2 or Part B, investigation, whatever you like to call it, that's the actual essay. That's the meat of your argument. And so we started there because that's the most important part. That's the actual paper. And I did a little bit off just because I think it's going to be more helpful for you. So Part A, that is your standard 5 to 8 paragraph essay of about 1,300 words. 1,000 minimum, 1,500 maximum on that word count. And so 5 to 8 paragraphs, depending on the size of the paragraphs, and you got it. That includes an introduction and a conclusion. So this is your standard essay. Part A, and then, going back to that standard essay, make sure that it is not just narrative, not just telling me what happened. It needs to be an argument, and I'm not seeing as many arguments as necessary in a lot of your papers so far. And I'll yell at you about that when we get to the rubric. Part A is pretty straightforward. It's an intro paragraph including your research question and why it's important, and then the analysis using OPCVL of 2 sources. One of them should be, if not both of them, should be primary sources. You need some primary sources. A lot of you are using way too many secondary sources and no primary sources, and that's a no-no. That's going to result in some low scores. And so once you got that, that's worth about 6 points. And so 6 points for Part 1, 15 points for Part 2. And I haven't even mentioned Part 3 yet because it's the least important part. It's only worth 4 points. And going back, the word count is also the smallest, and it's mostly a quick journal of about 2 paragraphs that you can do at the end. Here's how to do Part C or Part 3, however we want to label it. It's a reflection for when you're all done with everything else. And I want you to answer one, at most two of these questions. And that's all you do, is you just pick one of these questions and you go through and kind of think about how you approach this as a historian. To get the full 4 points, you need to include examples from your own paper. So don't just talk generally about how history is different than math. You can talk about how history is different than math using examples from your own paper. So if you don't use examples from your own paper, the highest you'll get is a 2 out of 4. But if you use examples from your own paper saying, oh yeah, I looked at this source from Martin Luther King and it was a really good example of blah, 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 blah. And so talk about your own work, refer back to your own work there, and you'll get the full 4 points. The next section, bibliography, must be included. Word limits, 2,200 words maximum. It's all total worth 25 points. And then this is the suggested word allocation. So what that means is you should be around there. The only word count that matters is the total. And so the total word count, that's where we're at. And so you can play with these numbers, but that's right around where they should be. So part A should be about 500, part B about 1,300, and part C about 400. And again, that's why I kind of left it till the end. You just pick 1 or 2 questions and kind of talk about what you learned using examples from your own paper. So that's the research instructions. When in doubt, look there. There's a lot of good stuff here. Chicago style, a lot of you are confused as far as how to do Chicago style. Here's how to do that. Most of you are on board with Chicago style. That's the only difference is it's footnotes. So footnotes is the way to go. If you are doing MLA because you hate me, then make sure it's done well. Some of you are already gone into MLA, and I cringe when I read it, but I will allow it for the sake of time. The rubric is the big one to read through. This is what I'm using to grade it, and this is what the IB is going to use it to grade as well. And so for part A, the main thing is, did you state your research question and why it's important? And then did you include a detailed analysis of your 2 sources, explicitly stating words like origin, purpose, content, values, and limitation? So be real obvious on this, saying, the origin of the source is valuable because blah, blah, blah. The purpose of the source is valuable because, and go off on it. And so if you do that, you get the full points. And a lot of you have been doing okay on that based on what I've read so far. Some of your source choices have been weak. You need to get into those primary sources. And a lot of you didn't also include an intro paragraph that includes the research question. That would help you a lot. The main point is part B, the actual research paper. Not enough of you are making an argument. And so if you have a good question that forces you to pick a side and make an argument, you're good. But it shouldn't just be a biography. It's not a book report saying Martin Luther King was born on this day, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he died. That's not really an argument. That's just stating facts, and that's not what we're about. And so you need to actually pick a side saying, hey, this was really important, or this was a massive change because blah, 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 and here's my evidence of this guy talking, blah, blah, blah. And so make sure you're actually picking a side and making an argument, not just saying this happened and this happened. You'll only get half points if it's just narrative telling me what happened. Another thing you're missing is different perspectives. And so if you're going to go the route of telling me about Martin Luther King, I want to hear some different perspectives. I would like maybe a female perspective on the movement. I would like some different white perspectives on the movement. Give me a Jewish perspective on the movement. Just give me some different perspectives on your answer. And come up with maybe a counterclaim or just a different view necessarily as far as how did different people view this thing. If you do that, have different perspectives, have a solid argument, and you're using your source as well, you can get full points. Just make sure you're doing that. And then the last piece is only worth 4 points, and it's just picking 1 or 2 of those questions and just fully answering it kind of like TOK style, using examples from your own paper. If you're confused as far as what the paper should look like, here's a bunch of examples in PDF form is the actual paper, and then the grade that the IB gave is in the Word document. Use them, because a lot of your papers are looking messy, and it doesn't seem like you know what to do. Here are examples to help you out. If your research question is messy, here's a little Word document to kind of help you make a better paper question. Because, again, too many of you are just telling me book report, narrative stories, and not arguing. Research notes, you should already have research notes. Annotated bibliography, you should already be there. Outline, you should already be there. Confused on how to do OPCVL? Here is a good section on how to do Part A. Outline, presentation, history day, we're not worrying about those. All right, so the main thing for you to do is get writing as much as possible. You need to email me your drafts so I can leave comments and then you can polish, polish, polish. You got a week. You can do this. I've seen you write tons and tons. And it's go time. This is pretty much, and when it comes to the IB grade, it's a great opportunity for you in that you don't have to worry about the test now. And frankly, some of you would have been dragged down by the tests. But now the pressure's off and all on this week. And so if you can just write a good paper, a large part of your IB grade and a chance at that college credit is writing a good paper this week. You don't have to worry about the test. It's just this one. So do it well, and you'll come out well on this one. All right? Good luck. Get writing.